What's up, chat? I wish for this man to only draw Jin content for 1,000 years. You know, we don't really have enough genie content, I do think. We're kind of lacking. We should have more in the world. I need powerful genie females to step on my cock and balls on a daily basis. Shantae is starting to become irrelevant, so yeah. Shantae was too Genki and happy. I need sultry and mean genie female to step on my cock and balls. This is scientifically proven to be the best type of genie. What about Themistophiles? This is essentially the same fucking comic that I've already done with Themistophiles. Whenever a man summons a demon or some supernatural entity in 2025, he only wants one thing. And that's a girlfriend. Always. There is no other option. Can they be black genie babes? No. I only want my genies to be blue. Maybe red. But definitely blue should be the primary color. And that's not just because the Aladdin genie was blue. Blue is the best color of female. Robin Williams genie with tits. I don't like the Robin Williams genie, not just because it's a man, but also because it's Robin Williams and he's constantly high energy and spinning around and making his stupid fucking jokes nonstop. Honestly, I never like Robin Williams in any context. I particularly despise him when he does like his serious shit and tries to make people cry, which he did for a large number of his movies in the later half of his career, but I don't like his comedy either. You know how people like shit on streamers like Tyler and stuff by posting in the comments loud equals funny because they are commenting on the fact that most of the entertainment from the streamer just comes from the streamer yelling and pissing and shit. That's how I feel about Robin Williams. Except he was many years before the modern crop of streamers and he was already doing loud equals funny. He's a little bit more than loud, I'll give him that. But it's generally just high energy equals funny. At no point does he just sort of like tone down the energy. It's always the same tone. I find it very obnoxious, honestly. Jumanji was pretty sick as a kid. That wasn't because of Robin Williams, though. That was because of the concept of like, oh my god, what if there was a board game in which you could get ass raped by tigers that got the neurons activated for the local 12-year-old. I completely agree with the title, by the way. The characters look like they came out from a fake Sora Pixar movie. The number one thing that drives me crazy with people being like, oh, this is a masterpiece, besides the whole parry slop shit, is because there's like absolutely not a single fucking image that looks like anything in the trailer besides the characters, I guess. There's no backgrounds. There's no specificity to anything. It is actually looking like someone was like, Chat GPT, generate me an image of beautiful, flower-filled fantasy landscape. And they were like, here. And there's nothing specific about anything in the fucking entire fucking world. Also, spoilers, I know what the game's about, and I fucking hate shit where it's like, we were all in a dream, we were all in a simulation. Our dreams are reality, or the video game is reality. I fucking hate that shit. This one's even worse. Spoilers. The only reason people call it a masterpiece is because hardly anything of quality came out in the last 3 years. The reason I titled this stream I Will Not Play Expedition 33 is because I saw another thread on it on V, because that's what I check when I'm shitting. And now that it's popular, of course, 4chan is shitting on it, because that's just how the 4chan cycle goes, is that if something is unpopular, they're like, it's Ludokino. And when it does become popular, they're like, no, actually it's shit. But I was thinking, like, why am I have zero interest in the game? And then I actually, like, pulled up one of the fucking trailers, and I was like, wait a second, there isn't a single image in this entire trailer in which that makes me want to play the game. In fact, there isn't a single image in this entire trailer in which something actually looks like something. As in something specific. Like, look at this shit. Look at it. Here we go. Guy in cinematic field of red flowers. I mean, I guess that's okay. We all like Snake Eater, right? Surely that we'll see some specific objects besides these characters. Here we go. Oh, cool. AI, please generate me a dramatic eclipse image similar to Dark Souls 3 with like floating rocks and shit. Yeah, here we go. Oh, flower petals. Yeah, we all love Snake Eater. See, we've so far seen only landscapes that are like extremely non-specific gobbledygook of Unreal Engine. I don't know if this is Unreal Engine or not, but you know what I mean. I was like, okay, we have this extremely vague ruined city, but not really a ruined city, of square assets that is vaguely looks like Nier or something. And we have this extremely vaguely shaped non-human humanoid giant Okay, look, we have all this illumination, and we're in a cave, or we're in a building, or it's pretty, right? Look how pretty this is. Look, we have another pretty landscape of, you know, floating shit, floating shit, floating shit, floating shit, floating mountains. Look at all the lighting. Oh, we have a very unspecific temple. Like, everything looks like it was generated with AI. Was it actually generated with AI? Look, we have the pretty non-specific field with crystal and shit. It actually looks like it was just, they took assets of, like, Final Fantasy and other turn-based games and then put it into a fucking blender. Like, everything looks like it was just... See, look how fucking unspecific everything is. It's like, oh, lamppost, oh, you know, ruined temple. But it's like, oh, it's all a dream, guys. Oh, it's nothing, none of it is real. Like, every single fucking thing is just, like, floating pillars and shit. Even the music sounds like fucking AI generated slop. It's just like, ho ho ho. Unappealing French randoms being the return of Western gaming is crazy. I mean, everything has fallen so far that if I was desperate to play a video game, I might actually be like, oh, that's great that we have a video game. At least the idea of adding parry mechanics to turn-based gameplay is somewhat new. Nobody else has done that, I think, as far as I know. At least they tried to make something vaguely new there. My brother is super obsessed with this game and showed me the music as if it was going to blow me away. It just sounds so generic to me. It sounds like the parts of Dark Souls music that I don't remember. I'm not exactly high on From Software music as well. But this is even more just like vague in general. I don't know how to put it. Here's how I would put it. When I'm drawing like a background and stuff, when I'm like, oh, here's the desk and here's something on the windowsill and stuff like that. Oh, it has to look like something. And if I'm like drawing little details, if I feel like the detail of something is like too vague and people won't be able to tell what it is based on the amount of information I'm putting in the drawing, I have a rule that I'm like, if it doesn't obviously look like something, I erase it and I don't draw that. Like, don't have like objects that are hard to understand. Well, the entirety of Expedition 33 looks like an object that I would like erase because it's hard to identify what it's supposed to be to me. Ball only wants Shantae cel-shaded art style in his games. There haven't been a lot of great cel-shaded games, honestly. I don't even know if you would consider Shantae cel-shaded art style, actually. I don't know what you would call that. I bought, I think, Pirate's Curse, and I didn't finish it. But that's just me. I never finish Metroidvanias. I always get bored within, like, the first 10 hours. Entire Expedition 33 trailer felt like a drug dream event from Far Cry 5 or something. Yes, that's a really good example. I fucking hated the Far Cry 5 drug dream event as well. But at least they were just like a short period of time. They didn't last the entire fucking game. Your Jin already has more soul than the entire Expedition game. The entire Expedition game doesn't look like anything. I can't remember. Did it win a bunch of? It won all the awards and shit. Not that I care because video game consumers truly are the dumbest fuckers on the planet. That they actually care about stuff like the Game Awards. You'd think that now that we're in year like 10,000 of society, they should know based on other things like the Academy Awards that stuff that is chosen in these award shows doesn't really have much meaning. But the video game awards are especially egregious of this because we have like zero actual information on who's voting, right? I don't know. And even if they are, it's like the games media that we constantly make fun of. So why the fuck should anybody ever care about like whatever games journalist votes on the best game of whatever year? I don't mind parry mechanics. I think parry mechanics are extremely shallow. Especially if they have too much reward for the risk. They can essentially make an entire video game lose any kind of strategy and just make it a timing button press rhythm game if you make it too powerful. I in particular have salty feelings against parry mechanics because I'm just not good at them for one reason. That's one reason. Parrying has its place. Let's be honest. The current epidemic of parrying started with Sekiro, but it started even before Sekiro. It started with Dark Souls. When people realized that they could just parry Gwyn to death. Honestly, I love From Software games, and I'll play a million more of them, but I wish that the industry didn't love the games as much as I do, because it has had some disastrous effects on less skilled game developers getting the wrong lessons from various From Software games and imitating the bad aspects about them. Street Fighter 3 predates Dark Souls a lot. Nobody fucking played Street Fighter 3, which was like also a financial failure and like the nadir of fighting game culture at the time, and people were actually like worrying if we were gonna get, you know, we were gonna get fighting games after this and be like, yes, we're gonna do Street Fighter 3 ourselves. Nobody fucking did that, dude. To the point that when Street Fighter 4 came out, people were like, oh, thank God, fighting games are saved. Nowadays, we talk about Street Fighter 3 as if it's like an unmatched masterpiece, and only the shittiest plebs who can't, you know, play fighting games will dislike it. But I remember specifically at the time being like, man, fighting games, why is nobody doing fighting games? I mean, part of that was sort of because, like, of it was at the time in which both the arcades were dying, but, like, streaming and online gameplay hadn't really caught up to the technology level it needed to be yet. So it was sort of in between times, but Street Fighter 3 was not, you know, a universally beloved game. It's so crazy that the best games are often complete financial failures. I don't think it's as crazy as we think, because the best games are often extremely complex or difficult, and that requires a much higher level of skill and understanding from the player base. I mean, if we're going just by like the most financially successful games, it's probably like some incredibly brain-dead cell phone game in which women are just tapping their phone during the day while they drink glasses of Chardonnay and being like, yes, my farm is expanding, right? So, just by definition, good games, it's going to be much harder for them to be successful. I've got to say the most erotic things about actual sex are their extreme perspectives, which you never see in erotic art. Like, imagine what the Coomer is seeing right now in this scene. That view is transcendent. You have to get down on your knees in real life to see it. I was watching a Saito Naoki YouTube tutorial recently, and he was commenting on the extreme importance for having a lot of, what do you call it, cross-section lines to make your drawings seem more three-dimensional. And what he means by that is that instead of drawing human being from the absolute front, this is straight, this is straight, this is straight, this is straight, you have to always be thinking, this is like flat as fuck, right? You always have to be thinking in terms of cross-section line of head, cross-section line of chin, cross-section line of shoulder. The boobs get out, right? Cross-section line. But if you put in the cross-section lines and you see a lot of these circles, right? Suddenly we have a very three-dimensional object, and then you can make these lines that you're using as cross sections, you can put them in the actual drawing by, for example, giving them stuff like thigh highs, right? Or here we have the skirt, right? Yeah, give them like a bangle and shit, right? And now it's much more three-dimensional. And like, I knew this in the, like, subconsciously, but when I was told by him to be like, you have to be constantly thinking about it when you set up your poses, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I need to be thinking in terms of like how much three-dimensional shape indicators I have, because my stuff has always been said that it's two-dimensional, and part of that is because I like two-dimensional art, sometimes more than three-dimensional art, but definitely one of the easiest ways to make your art look higher skill is to have a stronger sense of like three-dimensionality and everything. I'm still surprised there is a market for phone games, LOL. They're not really video games, let's be honest. They are addiction gambling addiction simulation machines is what they are. They're giving the same sort of slot machine based dopamine hits, except there isn't really much chance of winning money. Maybe there is chance of winning money now, actually. I don't know. I haven't been keeping track with, like, the gambling legislation, so maybe stuff like FanDuel and shit, they can make money. They can actually allow you to make money off of it now. I don't know, but in the past 15 years, basically everything has been turned into gambling, whether it's the stock market or video games or sports and stuff like that. They've figured out how to stimulate the stupid parts, the stupid dopamine chimp parts of our brain digitally, and every company wants a chunk of that sweet, sweet cash. If you play multiplayer games, you can always instantly feel who's there to play the game and who's there for the dopamine hit. Are you saying you can tell who's here to play the game because they don't have the Nicki Minaj, pink goo, cat ears, Snoop Dogg themed, transaction-based microtransaction super giga skin? Because yes, that is true. Although some of those P players are also like the 1,000 hour player who's really good at the game as well. Dopamine addiction through gaming replaced more financially costly alcoholism, which sucks. These people need to be dying under the bridge. I mean, you can always have both. Why choose one or the other? If I wished her to step on me, she'd have to do it right, asking for a friend. I'd be like, haha, you must crush me with your beautiful genie feet that have never walked on land because you can float. Your perfectly soft soles. Not a foot fetish person, by the way. Describe the smell in that room. Well, unfortunately, he's in the middle of the desert, so there's not enough. It's not enclosed enough for the female smells of gin perfume and fire and stuff to fill the room, but. Do genies don't smell? I assume that because it's the Middle East, she smells of like exotic perfumes that mortal humans cannot have access to or something. I don't know what's so weird about a foot fetish. I go for feet like how I go for women without makeup or with pajamas. I just like domestic intimacy. The foot fetish is considered to be a fetish because the foot is not a sexual organ or a sexual part. And foot coomers be like, I must see the toes! Oh! Oh! It's a fetish in the same way that you're supposed to, as a human being, not want to have sex with dogs or horses. But that doesn't stop the furries now, does it? It is also an extreme normie fetish, because it is the most common form of fetish, so not only should you be ashamed as being a depraved minority in society, you should also be ashamed of being the most normal form of fetishist as well. It's humiliating from both directions. She smells like all the spices the British didn't get to plunder yet. Yes. Keep crying foot chuds. Armpit chads are clearly superior. Armpit fetish is slightly more understandable because it is a crevice in which you can stick your dick inside. So it's closer to a vagina, I guess. Even the shape is vaguely vagina-esque. What isn't a sexual organ or a sexual part on your preferred cum-inspiring person? I think I've drawn specifically... What was her name in Final Fantasy XIV? Hold on. I just remember from Final Fantasy XIV that this bitch, who is a relatively minor character, has such a massive fucking forehead by in-game standards. She's the only one who has this massive, absolutely huge exposed forehead. Just really showing it to you right out in the open. Look at this shit. Absolutely made to be covered in male semen right here. The most depraved of exposed foreheads. In Japanese, the term is deko. I remember the earliest stages in Japanese anime culture in which people started sexualizing exposed foreheads was Iori-chan from Idol Master. Wait, yeah. Yes. And even her forehead isn't as horribly exposed as the Final Fantasy XIV girl. Because she has a little bit of like side on it. It's like 90% exposed, whereas the Final Fantasy XIV girl is like 99% exposed with one small piece of hair covering it. Of course, it goes back to Idolmaster. Idolmaster is like the primordial soup of a lot of our modern day fetishes. It was happening when the internet started to catch on and people were creating fetishes for the new age. The fetishes that had been originally promoted by the masters, the people who were creating it, were now replaced with fetishes promoted by the people as people grew to understand their power on the internet. They realized that they could sexualize anything they wanted. It's the great sailing age of internet fetishes. Random fun fact, first IMAS on console was on Xbox rather than PS2 as you'd expect. I imported Idolmaster 2 for my Xbox 360. And then I realized I don't like idols or somewhat dating sim-like stuff. Many such cases in which I realize I don't actually like something after I spend money on it. Didn't Idolmaster kill Berserk? Not getting enough exercise and probably having genetic issues is what killed Berserk, but no. I love how people think that as long as this one manga artist had zero hobbies in his life and just non-stop grinded the thing that he was non-stop grinding even more, it would have been completed instead of still being unfinished. The truth is, Miura wrote himself into a corner and he didn't know what to do. You must also think that if we would just strap George R.R. Martin to a desk and force him to write, we'd actually get the end to the Song of Ice and Fire, instead of the truth being he doesn't know how to end it. Brother spent half his life drawing Boat Arc and wanted to spend remaining on Loli Gacha, let him. I mean, how many chapters of Boat Arc even there were? I'm not even sure. People kept on memeing about how they were still on the boat, but wasn't he just like on hiatus for a long time? A true creative vision can only last so long, to be honest. This is why you should try and end your manga series around 30 volumes. 30 volumes is the right length of time if you're doing a weekly series in which you can keep your energy going. And that's just like because of the narrative, how narratives work. There is a narrative structure, and unless you're actually changing the main character like in JoJo, then you're probably going to resolve all of the characters' primary, like, conflicts and shit within 30 to 40 volumes. 50 volumes is almost always too long for pretty much anything. And don't even get me started on things that go like 100 volumes. Oda will nail the landing with One Piece. It'll be worth it, surely. Have you guys even been paying attention to One Piece recently? Do you know what's happening? Because I started following these anti-One Piece YouTubers who like One Piece way more than One Piece fans. Who, like, read every single sentence and, like, write literal fucking hours-long analysis of single chapters and how he could make the chapter better. It's like a combination with One Piece, like, hater and One Piece superfan stuff. And that's how I know what's happening with One Piece. And it's in a dark place right now. As in, Oda has no fucking idea what he's doing right now. He's in the, I would actually suspect that the publishing company is forcing Oda to keep on going and stretching it out if I didn't know better. I mean, he's actually building up stories about Roger's crew and the kind of, like, love stories between a character that appeared for half a chapter 12 years ago. Oda really wrote himself into a corner. Not only did he write himself into a corner, he's been living in that corner for the last, like, 5 years or so. There's still many things to wrap up even now. The problem is not only is there's a lot of stuff to wrap up, it's that Oda hasn't wrapped up a single thing. I think the one chance that we had out of this mire for Oda to get it back on track was when he was like, okay, Egghead Island, not Einstein, is going to, he's going to say all the truths about the world. Finally, it's going to happen. We're going to, like, set up for the final arc. We're going to start, wrapping shit up and telling us the information that I've been hiding for so many years. And all the readers who hadn't been paying attention throughout the incredibly long Not Japan arc were like, okay, this is it. I'm getting back on board. And then Not Einstein said not enough information, really. And people were like, what the fuck? That's it? That's all we get? And Oda was like, see, did you like it? And then everybody who was about to get back on board was like, no, I didn't like it at all. Fuck this. And they got off the ship again. Wouldn't Oda have some power to push back publishers? So back in the day, Toriyama wanted to end Dragon Ball, and they forced him to do an entire another arc after the Cell Saga. That's how we got the Boo Saga, because he wanted to end. I mean, you can, if you actually read it, you can just, like, straight up see it, where Toriyama is like, he clearly doesn't plan to go back into, like, fight another big bad, and instead he starts going into epilogue mode, and then they're like, no, wait, we need to fight some more shit. That's volume, like, 35 right there. I believe that Oda is dragging out One Piece simply because he really likes dragging shit out. Because Oda, at his heart, is an absolute maximalist. Toriyama was actually kind of a minimalist, if you see what he was allowed to draw after he was done with Dragon Ball. He just wants to write very small stories about old guys and kids going on road trips. Which is what we got with stuff like Sandland and Koa and stuff like that. He basically wants to do the manga equivalent of children's books. Oda is the opposite. He loves writing huge fucking stories that span generations and countries and stuff like that. And now, because One Piece has been so successful and it is supporting an entire fucking anime industry and thousands of people's jobs are reliant on him. Nobody in the published company is like gonna be like, Mr. Oda Sensei, please wrap it up. We need less One Piece. If Oda wants to be like, I want to draw, you know, more, everyone's gonna be like, yeah. We're making so much fucking money off of this. You're not gonna tell him not to draw more, but that's exactly what, if we want to actually increase the quality of the story, that's exactly what somebody has to say. Somebody has to have the balls to say, Oda Sensei, you need to subtract stuff. It needs to be less. But nobody's willing to say that. Toriyama wanted to play with toy cars, ride his bike, and smoke. Poor man was forced to draw. I read that Toriyama applied to manga contest because he wanted money. And he applied to the gag manga contest because it was fewer number of pages than story manga, so but with the same amount of like prize money. So he's like, oh, this is easy. I can just draw less and get more money. Anybody who's like, talent isn't real, please shut the fuck up. The most celebrated mangaka of the last like 50 years was just like dicking around with his pen and paper. He wasn't like, my dream is to become a mangaka. I will study squares and shapes and perspective and characterization and plot and all these things, and I will become the greatest mangaka of all time. No, he was just like, LMAO. I love drawing mecha. Araki really hit the jackpot creatively with JoJo. He can write whatever the fuck he wants. Araki has figured out how to cultivate a reader base where he can do whatever bullshit he wants. And none of his reader base will be like, Araki-sensei, I don't think it makes sense that the most recent enemy stand has the ability to turn water into Kool-Aid, and then he uses his stand ability of turning water into Kool-Aid to create poisonous Fresca, because I think Fresca is a different stuff from Kool-Aid, and I don't think that makes any sense. Nobody's gonna fucking say that, because nobody expects anything to make sense in JoJo. Everyone's just like, LMAO, let me meme. Is that a JoJo meme? Ora, 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 ora. Muda, 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 muda. Ha, 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 ha. I, too, love the JoJo memes. This is the entire JoJo franchise. Everyone is fucking brain dead when they read JoJo, because the people who aren't brain dead are just be like, wait, I don't understand. Also, these people look weird. Why are they always standing in these weird postures? And why do their clothes have like weird holes and stuff in it? Toriyama, please draw a screaming muscle man, please. No, not the round car. It literally is like that. Except the person being like, please, Toriyama sensei, please, you cannot end Dragon Ball, is like a highly paid editor at one of the most important publishing companies on the planet. And when Toriyama wants to draw the round car, they have to like call all the shareholders of various toy companies and stuff, being like, I'm sorry, we tried to get Toriyama to draw something besides round car. We wanted him to draw Screaming Muscle Man, but we couldn't convince him. All of our stock is gonna fall by 700% because Toriyama wants to draw a round car and cute, like, ghost thing or whatever. It's incredibly funny if you think about it. Does that mean BB hates JoJo? I actually love fucking JoJo. JoJo is glorious. JoJo is one of the few manga that I think is only getting better as Araki ages. I haven't checked in that much on part 9, but when I was reading the free chapters available online, I was like, holy shit, now this is some real manga. Finally, some good fucking manga. I like Steel Ball Run more than JoJo Leon here. I said it. I think a lot of people like Steel Ball Run more than JoJo Leon. But I like Part 5 the best. I think Part 5 is the best balance between Araki's like old style, well not necessarily old style, but his like Italian fetish and his fetish with Renaissance artists and stuff like that. And like some of his more newer inspirations with like fashion and shit. Fear the guy whose stand ability is making women wet. I've been told that soft and wet can just do whatever it wants at all times. I haven't read JoJo Leon, so I don't know. Is that true? Is it just absolutely broken? Because that would be a pretty standard Araki thing to do, is being like, I have created this stand and I'm going to allow it to do way more things that it's supposed to be able to do. It wouldn't be the first time that that has happened. Orientalism equals penis hard? I think so. I bought Path of Exile 2 early access entirely so I could enjoy the Orientalism in Act 2. We need more Middle Eastern Orientalism with lots of harem girls. I fucking love how Aladdin has harem girls in its throughout the songs and stuff. Back when Disney wasn't afraid of being racist because it's Kino. The hand was balanced around being Okuyasu's hand. True. Soft and wet is insanely broken. Can you imagine how the Middle East would explode into super sect without Islam? Holy shit, bring back pre-Abrahamic polytheism. That shit was hot. I wonder if there's a way in which, if someone invented a time machine, there was a way in which we could stop monotheism from happening in the Middle East, because I think it's a net negative for everything. Although there is a lot of theories that monotheism and Protestant Christianity is part of the reason why we have capitalism and thus technological inventions and stuff in the modern age, but I include that in both of my net negative as well. That also seems like a net negative. It would be interesting to see if we could like somehow convince some sort of Roman emperor to just go like super hard on the Jews and not allow Christianity to spread and stuff like that. Go even harder on Christians than how hard they went on Christians, so Christianity wouldn't spread. I wonder if it would make a better society in the future. Although I guess that wouldn't like stop Islam from spreading unless you like went back in time and made sure that Muhammad's father didn't nut properly or something. With the end of Cur 4 of TYBW, it sounds like they're going to adapt the light novels. One Piece is still getting pushed. The only manga suffering is Naruto with its shit sequel series. Shonen Jump is in a weird spot right now. They don't know what to push. They haven't had any replacement from whatever second or third generation of talent they had. But honestly, they're making so much money off shit like Demon Slayer that I feel like they will be okay for a while and we don't need to worry about them. Going hard on Jews and Christianas is how we got this shit. No, you need to go harder. Like through genocide. I don't know. Maybe if we ignored Jesus, that would help. Send a bunch of sexy girls to Jesus so he becomes moderate and just lives the rest of his life as a carpenter instead of being an extremist religious prophet. If you are the poorest, you'll be richest when you die, LMAO. That whole LMAO part is kind of how actual Christians behave as well, by the way. Ask a fundamentalist Christian to actually follow Jesus' teachings regarding giving up all your money and shit. Challenge, difficulty impossible. Buddha had good idea, be rich, prince, indulgent, everything, get bored, proclaim you're enlightened and therefore above universe. Also abandon your wife and kids. That's also a cool part about it. I get this Buddha guy. I too wish to abandon my wife and kids and sit under a tree. Sounds like a good life. Pretty much anybody that's had wife and kids probably wants to, like, fuck off and go and sit under a tree instead at some point. Gandhi took that to heart. When wife sick, reject Western medicine. When self becomes sick, yes please. LMAO. Damn, Ball is older than Doraemon. Isn't Doraemon a robot? So by definition, he's probably going to be pretty young because he was manufactured in a fucking factory. It's crazy how Islam is, despite its foundation being bullshit. You can literally take that sentence and apply it to every single fucking religion on the planet. But that's basically every single religion. The only religions that make sense are like animism and stuff, where you're like, I have seen thunder. I too wish to harness this power of the gods. I must worship at this temple so I don't get hit by thunder. That shit makes sense. Let me sacrifice these animals so it gives me more power.